All right, man, peace. So as many of you brothers may know by now, Mr. Brian Windhorst, the intrepid reporter who's renowned for following behind LeBron James for the last 15, 16 years, is stating that according to his sources and in his view, there is the potential for Kyrie Irving to reconvene with LeBron James in LA. Do I think that is something that should happen? Most likely, because I think that Kyrie fits in the best with LeBron. Do I think that it's something that will happen? Who knows? As of right now, I'm going to lean towards no, because according to most of these reporters on television, Kyrie Irving and KD seem like they're fated to land with the New York Knicks. So, of course, you're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Well. Our Brian Windhorst saying on the Hoop Collective podcast, Kyrie has had discussions about reuniting with LeBron on the Lakers this summer. Stephen A.
Allegedly he has. Is that true? Who knows? I'm going to trust Brian Windhorst on this, though, because he normally is able to back up many of his statements with some type of substance.
Would Kyrie going to the Lakers be a good move?
For him, it would be a very good move. I'm just not quite sure if he'd be able to deal with the ego hit that he'd be forced to take of someone running back. It's like a chick who's been battered and bruised by her ex-man running back to that relationship.
I guess it would be a good move, but from what I'm told, it's not going to happen. I got a text message from folks close to Kyrie's family within the hour.
Supposedly. It's very rare that Stephen A. Smith actually has sources for many of his statements. So did you really speak with people who are close to Kyrie's family?
As we were teasing the subject. Quote, there is no way in hell he's going to LA.
Sounds very authoritative. Either Stephen A. Smith is making this up, which I doubt, or he probably spoke to Kyrie's dad and does not want to drop dime on that. And he's just saying someone close to the family.
I don't give a damn what anybody says. Knock that down for us right now, please. He ain't going to LA. That's what they say. I would tell you that if he ended up in LA with LeBron, it would be formidable. I think it would make them Final Four in the Western Conference.
Damn, Steve didn't even say Final Four in the NBA. He said Final Four in the Western Conference. It would be fun to watch, though, if Kyrie were to team back up with LeBron James and maybe they were willing to pull off that trade for Anthony Davis. Please remember that David Griffin is now the general manager of the Pelicans. He was the former general manager of the Cleveland Cavaliers when LeBron James was there. I've stated this in numerous videos that I believe that David Griffin was purposely hired by the owner of the Pelicans at the behest of Adam Silver to hopefully try to grease the skids to allow that trade of Anthony Davis to the Lakers to be completed.
Meaning they'd get at the very least to the conference semifinals. I don't think there's any question about that. But from everything that I've been hearing over the last few days, Kyrie Irving is heading to New York City. Kyrie Irving is heading to Madison Square Garden.
We'll see.
With Kevin Durant.
I like it.
His, people in his inner circle are trying to bring the Nets into the mix. But clearly New York is the destination. The likelihood is that it will be MSG and obviously Max. And I will admit, I'm saying this for your entertainment, Max Kellerman, because I know it's going to get you going after I say this. I am told that James Dolan himself has basically said, whatever the hell you want.
Well, it seems as though the Knicks are being ran much better, especially over the last couple of years.
I will move the hell out of the way. I will give you whatever you want. It doesn't matter.
Most bad owners say that initially, before the player signs the contract. And then as soon as he signs the contract, a bad owner is always going to go back to being a bad owner.
You came and said, I'll take care of you. To the Kyries and the Kevin Durants of the world. So it appears to be a foregone conclusion. I don't know whether that's true or not. Neither Kevin Durant nor Kyrie Irving are talking about these things. But I am telling you what the belief is. They are destined to go to MSG, which is why I put it at 95% on my social media page. Because the 5% that people leave open is wiggle room. Because they say, particularly with KD, he's a very emotional individual at times.
Well, so are you.
And sometimes, he'll sit there and, he's firm in his commitment, but then the emotions get the better of him and he might want to rethink something. So they say it's never safe to say something is a 100% foregone conclusion with KD.
There are definitely going to be some moments of uncertainty for Kevin Durant as he goes through his decision-making process. There's no way in the world that you're going to tell me that you're going to leave a team that just won 3 straight championships just for the sake of finding out if you could lead a team to a championship who's been moribund over the last 50 years or so. I'm not quite sure if the decision is going to be as cut and dry as many of the pundits on television are making it out to be.
Until it's done, but they did use the number 95% to say that it's New York City MSG, and obviously if he goes, Kyrie is going to. First up.
Well, damn, are they roommates already? What's going on? What do you mean if he goes, Kyrie is going to? You know, brothers, there's a slogan that you don't really know someone until you live with them. It's easy to be best friends and buddies with someone as long as you're only meeting up with them at locales where you both are able to express the best aspects of your personality or of your nature. But the day-to-day of living with someone in a house or an apartment or a locker room, little shit might start to either bother you or the other person. You might find out things about that other person that you never knew. Sometimes people who are friends, when they're brought a little bit too close in proximity to one another on a daily basis, can cause that friendship to fracture. Something to watch for if Kyrie and KD decide to sign with the Knicks together.
I'll say something that'll shock you. If that's Dolan's attitude, my hat's off to him. That's what he has to do, right?
That is kind of shocking.
When you have 5-star players, KD's a 5-star player. Kyrie is a 4.5-star player. I thought maybe he's a 5, but the leadership was lacking with the Celtics, as was the execution, 4.5.
Yeah, I'll give Kyrie about a 4.5 on Max Kellerman's scale of player evaluation. I pretty much agree with that. I think that a very dangerous temptation right now due to recency bias would say, no, Kyrie's not a 4.5-star player. He's more like a 4.2-star player. But when we evaluate his career in its proper context, you quickly understand that, yes, he's a 4.5-star player.
More than an all-star, less than an MVP. 4.5. When you have that level, those two kind of players, and you've never had players like that, ever. History of the Garden. There's never been a player like Kyrie as spectacular. Carmelo was excellent. He's not as spectacular, right?
Carmelo's not spectacular at all. Carmelo's the equivalent of watching someone make a sandwich, and it's your favorite sandwich. You know that you're going to get some satisfaction or some enjoyment out of eating the sandwich, but the process of watching it get made, it's like,
Clyde Frazier was great clutch champion. But he was actually, for all the flash off the court, he was a fundamentals kind of guy on the court. Patrick Ewing was a center. Like, Latrell Sprewell wasn't Kyrie or someone like Kyrie and KD would.
Latrell was explosive, but he was not a great player. He was a good to very good player who was very explosive.
Would be the two most spectacular players they've ever had. It's exactly how Dolan should handle it, whatever you need. I was also hearing it was a real thing about a month ago, and then it seemed like the door was open for KD with the Clippers. I also think, Stephen A., no matter what is being said, when push comes to shove, the real possibility is he stays at Golden State.
I agree with that. I think that I will give that a realistic chance. I've been saying for a while now that my divvying up of the KD free agency pie will probably be Golden State and the Clippers and then the Knicks as the dark horse. I'm not quite sure how I would evaluate it right now. If I was forced to, I'd probably say 33, 33, 33. And then 1% might be the Nets or Boston or something like that.
Because what he will start to consider is, it is hard, like gangster, to win a championship in the NBA. And for all the critics like me saying, well, sure, you stacked the deck in your favor to where, to the point where you couldn't lose. That's most championship teams. Look at most championship rosters. The Celtics and Lakers of the 80s.
That's why I've always said I have no idea why KD would even consider leaving Golden State in the first place. I know sometimes you might be a little susceptible to certain ploys to make you feel like what you've accomplished is not up to snuff or up to par with what the expectations are. But you have to be able to contextualize what people say and understand what the motivation is. Is it agenda driven? Is it based in envy and jealousy? Or is it actually sincere and something of substance? Hopefully Kevin Durant can figure that out, and whatever move he makes works out well for him. But as of right now, he's literally on the perfect team for him.
The Bulls of the 90s, Golden State Warriors recently. Usually you look at the championship roster, very rare that you have Nowitzki and a bunch of shooters win, or the 04 Pistons, just a great defensive team. Usually it's like you look on paper to start the season, you go, how could they have possibly lost? They were too great. And with the rising tide around the league, different teams forming, KD may look at Golden State and be like, I should stay here.
If he's smart, he'll do that. because many of these other teams right now, especially after this oncoming free agency market this season and the offseason, a lot of these teams are going to have 3 great players on them. And it's going to be very difficult to compete with another team that has 3 great players if you're Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving in New York City, surrounded by a bunch of young players who've never won anything. Now, who knows, if the Knicks are able to win the lottery and they get that number 1 overall draft pick and they're able to parlay that into a trade for Anthony Davis, that might change the whole game.
I will tell you this to interject. Golden State's mentality is, do not count us out.
I get it.
Don't think for 1 second that it's a foregone conclusion that KD is leaving us.
By the way,
that's their position.
By the way, they're in Silicon Valley. They sit around the lockers figuring out how to make $1 billion in investments and have the inside tips and stuff. They are on a devastating championship team, and New York's a dysfunctional franchise. And the Lakers and Knicks are both, they appear dysfunctional. Knicks have been
No, they don't appear dysfunctional. They're both very dysfunctional.
Been dysfunctional since forever. Lakers now appear dysfunctional. That really lessens the kind of attractiveness of both those teams. So I would not rule Golden State out. The question was, would Kyrie go to the...
Well, on top of that, once again, if you're Kyrie Irving and the entire pretext of you leaving Cleveland in the first place was you had to escape from this guy, LeBron James, why would you want to go back? I mean, unless he's ready to recalibrate his thought process and his approach to the dynamic of the rapport between himself and LeBron. But Kyrie comes off to me as far too ego-driven to be thinking on that type of level.
Going to the Lakers be a good move? I think the answer is yes, quickly, because LeBron is there, because they've shown they could do it before. But less now that they didn't hire Ty Lue as it would have been a week ago.
Let me get to our next.
No, I actually think they have a better chance, or would have a better chance of signing Kyrie now that Ty Lue is not there, because Kyrie Irving and Ty Lue never got along. Or at least in Kyrie's last year there, they were not getting along.
Our next question, Stephen A. Would KD and Kyrie make the Knicks the favorites to win it all?
No.
No, they would not. I don't think they would make the favorites to win it all, because I don't think the two of them together would be enough to offset what you've seen in Milwaukee with the parts around them in New York at this moment.
Absolutely not. The way that Milwaukee plays basketball right now, they remind me a lot of the 2015 Warriors. They're playing in a style that's confounding many of the other teams in the NBA. And I honestly think that the only team that can beat them would be Golden State. And Golden State would have to be playing at a very high level to defeat the Milwaukee Bucks in the finals. I could definitely see that series going 6 or 7 games, very competitive 6 or 7 games, where the difference would be mostly experience. Milwaukee plays at a very high level of proficiency. When I see Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, when I visualize them in New York City, I think that there are going to be a lot of growing pains, because Kevin Durant and Kyrie basically have the same game. The only difference is 10 inches of height.
At the time, that's number one. Number two, the other thing that I've heard about Kyrie is this. The Lakers are the one place he could go by himself and there would be no trepidation, because LeBron is already there. The Clippers don't want him if he were coming alone. The Brooklyn Nets would prefer that he comes with somebody else. The New York Knicks would prefer that he comes with somebody else. The Lakers are the one destination that Kyrie doesn't need someone to go with him in order for him to be welcomed with completely open arms. Here's the
Lakers pitch. If I'm the Lakers, this is how I'm getting Kyrie. First, it starts with LeBron. LeBron's got to humble himself. Pick up the phone and call little brother, right? He's the big brother, little brother dynamic, and say it takes two, and I was to blame too. I can't talk about anything but my responsibility in this. I could have done better by you.
I'm pretty sure that LeBron James is going to do that if he has not done that already. I'm very sure of that. LeBron knows that this offseason is big for him. He's going to have to put his best foot forward and try to recruit a lot of these top shelf free agents. So not only will LeBron James be trying to issue a mea culpa to Kyrie Irving, he's also going to call Kawhi. He's going to try to call Klay, everybody that he can.
That's the first thing. I need you. That's the first thing that has to happen. The next is the Lakers got to tell Kyrie, you're going to get the keys to this franchise. You know, we're going to give you the keys after LeBron. And the next is they got to tell them who else is going to join them there. Because LeBron and Kyrie is not quite enough.
Well, the strongest component to support Kyrie in L.A. is that he's incredibly close to Kobe. And obviously...
But, brother, he can be close to Kobe over the phone. Do you think if he signs with the Lakers is going to be, oh, yeah, now I could spend the night at Kobe's house? Like, give me a break.
With Pelinka elevating his...
Who the hell is Pelinka? Somebody has to help Stephen A. Smith with those multisyllabic words that end in A. He struggles with those words a great deal. Pelinka.
His level of power within the organization. everybody believes that Kobe is behind that. In other words, not that Kobe's maliciously or secretly doing anything. It's that Pelinka and the relationship that he's been able to cultivate within the Lakers organization is in large part due to the fact that he has such a close relationship with Kobe. And obviously Jeannie Buss loves herself some Kobe Bryant and certainly doesn't ever want to disappoint him. So that's what you look at it from that perspective. Kyrie going to LA, if that were the case, that would be the reason. But again, to reiterate,
you're hearing.
In the last hour, I got a text saying, knock that BS down. Yeah. There is no way in hell he is going to LA. That's what they...
Well, either Kyrie Irving himself and or his team are growing increasingly frustrated at the notion that people would think that he would want to run back to LeBron James, or this is a smokescreen and they don't want people talking about what might potentially be in the works come this offseason.
They say, I don't know whether it's true or not.
I know we're getting this in the next block. It really all depends. If Zion, if the ping pong balls come up for the Knicks,
oh, no question.
Or if Zion changes this whole, they can say what they want.
I would agree with that. That would be a major plus for the Knicks if they were able to secure the #1 overall draft pick, because then they would have inroads to possibly trading for Anthony Davis.
If Zion's with LeBron, all of a sudden, if Zion's in New York, that changes everything.
I'm glad Max said that because it showed me you were other than.
Honestly, I would wonder if the Knicks will consider keeping Zion Williamson, because the Knicks have never had... I mean, Max Kellerman he's fond of talking about the type of players that the Knicks have never had, and he's correct. They've never had that explosive, jump out the gym wing player who averaged 25 points per game. If they were to secure Zion Williamson, not only would he end that trend, he could be a transformative type of player, especially when it comes to the culture and the marketability of the franchise.
Other than praying for global, that I didn't have to go to Canada because I don't have global entry, here's what I'm praying for. I want Zion to end up in New York or LA. Please don't end up in Phoenix. Don't end up in Chicago, okay?
Why would you wish something as bad as that on Zion Williamson? That he ended up with the Lakers just so that you can go to the city of angels, quote unquote, and have your fun there. I mean, knock it off. And from what I understand, according to Tracy McGrady, Zion Williamson does not want to play in a big market.
LA or New York? That's where I want to see Zion.
The Knicks have never had. The Knicks, New York did Dr. J and the ABA with the Nets on Long Island. But
that's true. That's a great point. I forgot about that.
But the Knicks have never had the high-flying superstar. Carmelo Anthony below the basket, Clyde Frazier,
they never had a highlight reel.
Chicago's a good town, though, too. All right, guys.
Well, we'll see what happens with Kyrie and KD in the offseason. So peace.